Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
כדבר אמור על יד נביח וקרא זה אל זה ואמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוא כל הארץ כבודו לעומתם משבחים ואומרים ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו ובברכות שכתוב לאמור ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ישראל דור ודור הללויה אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע אור אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Came here in the 19th century and they said basically when will the Jews come back and bring this land back to life? And we did. And the Palestinians, as I said, joined us from neighboring lands. And we never said you have to go out. We have to kick you out. We didn't say that. We welcomed them. Well, I think you killed a lot more Germans than Americans were killed in World War II. That's an understatement. I think by a factor of at least 10 times more, but more actually. And the same is true of Japan. Japan attacked you in a surprise attack in Pearl Harbor, and they killed, I don't know, a few thousand Americans. Take a look at what happened there and how it happened. You know how that war ended in ways that no one suggests should end here. I mean, it's the bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. I mean, so that's a ridiculous way of looking at things. And by the way, we're not carpet bombing Gaza. If we wanted to, everybody's saying you want genocide. We can carpet bomb Gaza in one afternoon, and of course, that would be a horrific number of casualties, and we don't do that because that's not our policy. Our policy is aimed to eliminate Hamas, but using the tactics of war that effectively no Western army has used, and I'm saying more than 1,000, actually 1,500 years before Christ. Now, first of all, look at Christ himself. I mean, he was a Jewish teacher from the Galilee. He wasn't a Palestinian teacher. He was a Jewish teacher with a Jewish name, Yeshua. His father was Yosef, Joseph. These are all Hebrew names. It was the birth of Christianity came from Jewish teachers who moved to Christianity, but they were Jews and they came from Jewish traditions that were here for over 1,000 years. And where did Jesus turn the tables on the money changers? Where? In Nepal? Perhaps in Singapore? Of course not. It was in the Jewish temple. And the same place where Solomon, 1,000 years earlier, had built the first Jewish temple, and then the exiles who returned from Babylon. You know the song, By the Rivers of Babylon? It's a very popular song where we sat down, and we remembered Zion. Well, they came back from Babylon, actually under a benign Persian king, King Cyrus. And so they came back 500 years before the birth of Christ and rebuilt Jerusalem.
Welcome back to the SCIF. Glad to have you today. Today's theme is disclosure. There's a lot coming out, and we're going to dig into multiple areas of these disclosures happening. We're not accusing anyone of assassinating Charlie Kirk, but there is a lot of information coming out, and we want to make sure you're aware of it because our goal is to make you the smartest in the room, around the water cooler, at the dinner table, wherever. So stick with us. We'll make you smart. So we're going to be talking about that today, the Israeli tension, also the assassination developments. We'll get into all that later in the show. We've got a hell of a show for you today. Jeff Buongiorno and Chris Gleason are going to talk about the Palm Beach election fraud cartel, which is alive and well in Trump's hometown. This is Trump's home jurisdiction, and the election fraud is off the charts. And we're going to have the guys who know all about it here in the second segment. You know them already, but we keep having them on because we keep getting fantastic information out of them, and early information, by the way. And I wanted to, and I'll talk about it later in the show, but we put out in 2019, I had to go back and research when the article came out. In 2019, we published an article about $100 million bribe to Petro Poroshenko by Burisma in Ukraine, and to shut down the Hunter Biden and investigations into Burisma. Well, yesterday, the DNI, or 2 days ago, the DNI came out and said, yeah, that was true, $100 million bribe to Poroshenko, which was the president of Ukraine at the time. So we were, 6 years early? And we testified about this in certain circles. We went to Congress and gave information, and it was all true. So guess what? We're early. If you want to be early, go to cdm.press, because we have reporters all over the world. We have people actively on the ground, not like these other channels. Just send somebody in. We have people on the ground that will bring you the info. I want to say hello to the crew in the chat. You're cleared hot. Thanks for all the engagement. Check out whatfinger.com. Great aggregator site. They post a lot of our stuff. We want you to know about them. And but after you check cdm.press 3 times a day, thank you for that. And because we need the traffic. And I want to just throw something out here. Here is something you really need to do if you haven't done. Go to mycdm.press and sign up for our no ad subscriptions, which are $10 a month or $100 a year. A lot of people just pay the $100, get it out of the way. You don't see that $10 hitting every month, which annoys you. So $100 a year, much cheaper. And you get access to all of our sites, all 13 digital channels, for only that amount, $10 a month or $100 a year. So that really helps us bring all this content, pay reporters, travel costs. We're doing a big sponsorship for CHD down in Austin, Texas in November next month for their conference. All of this costs money, so please support us. It's an easy way you can do it. My.cdm.press for the audio audience. So we're going to bring Jeff and Chris on second segment. Later on, we're going to talk about the assassination revelations, and wow, so much to show. In the cold open, you saw Al-Aqsa Mosque, where Ben-Gvir, who's the nationalist Israeli politician who was praying on top of the Temple Mount in the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is the holiest Islamic site in Jerusalem. Jerusalem is holy site for Christianity with Jesus's crucifixion. You have the mosque for the Muslims, and also obviously thousands of years of Israeli history or Jewish history there. So important place. And Ben-Gvir did a very, provocative thing by bringing people on top of the Temple Mount to the Al-Aqsa Mosque and doing those Talmudic rituals, as you saw there. So again, a lot going on. We'll be right back. We've got the boys coming on soon, so stay with us. We've got a lot to talk about today on the SCIF.
Can I ask a question about the nicotine pouches?
Yes.
Does it melt in your mouth, or do you have to spit it out later?
You can spit it out, you can swallow it, or you just savor it. I mean, you throw it in like you would a dip of tobacco.
Okay.
But you just let it sit there, and then it suffuses your nervous system with life-giving nicotine. And it really does feel like the hand of God is massaging you.
But does it feel like the high of smoking a cigarette?
It's simultaneously, if you can imagine the Zen paradox, higher alertness accompanied by deep relaxation.
Wow.
So you really are, it's a Zen experience. You're like cat-like in your readiness, but you're fully
And how long does it
relaxed.
last?
I always have one going. Sometimes if things are, if I need it, I'll put another one in. So I've got 18 milligrams of nicotine, but that gives me an unfair advantage.
You're banging 18 milligrams? Woo. That's impressive.
I don't like to, because everybody else kind of recedes into the background and I become this kind of colossus when I do that, and I feel guilty about it. Hubris is inevitable at that point. So I usually keep it to one.
I mean, I could use a new addiction.
Oh, yes.
What's the gateway drug level? What would you prescribe?
This sits between caffeine
We
and
sell a
cocaine.
3 milligram, but there's a transition, like all great addictions. Like, it's not instant. You do vomit at first, but then your body acclimates.
Wait is finally over. My towels are back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. Towels that actually work. What a concept. And that's not all. Check out our My Pillow bed sheets, only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings, regular $119.98, now only $29.88. And how about our limited edition premium My Pillows, made with Giza cotton and a designer gusset, made exclusively for you to thank you for all your support. Queens $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get My Towels for $39.98, My Pillow bed sheets only $29.88, and our limited edition My Pillow Queens $17.98 and Kings only $19.98. Quantities won't last long, so order now.
Welcome back to the SCIF. We're going to bring the boys on here in a second, Jeff Buongiorno and Chris Gleason, to talk about what's going on in Palm Beach County. But I wanted to just bring something to your attention. We are getting seriously shadow banned and throttled and deplatformed essentially on multiple channels, which are supposedly free speech. Rumble, for instance, is steadily dropping our followers. We were growing 5 to 10 a day for the last year, and all of a sudden, boom, we start dropping. It's not normal. It's not okay. I called them or texted them, and they said, well, it's a cash issue. It's, some people sign up more than once, so we have to drop them off. Well, it doesn't happen every day like that. So I don't believe them. Also, X is throttling us big time. All of our followers come and go. We have hurdles we have to get across, and when we do, they drop back down. So please sign up. The point is, please sign up for our X, our Rumble, our YouTube, our podcast, any podcast provider. We're on there. Subscribe to the show. You'll get the notifications. Hit notifications so you get it. Help us spread the links. Help us spread the show, because even today our X audience has dropped substantially. That's not normal. That's not organic. It's shadow banning and throttling. So we need help getting the show out. Please tell everybody about it, and go direct to cdm.press. You may not get the feed. You may not get it in your feed. Go direct to our channels and view the sites. That's the best thing you can do, is click around CDM once a day or twice a day or 3 times a day and see all the content that we're posting. Okay, I'm going to bring the boys in, Jeff Buongiorno and Chris Gleason. And we've got a photograph of Chris. Oh, that's not Chris. That's something else. Sorry.
This is better looking.
There's
me
Chris.
on my screen. There you go.
Didn't look like you, Chris.
Oh my gosh.
So we've got him here. Jeff, I'm gonna let you start, man. What's happening? There's a lot going on, and I can't wrap my head all around it, but you can. So go ahead.
Yeah, that's the idea. That's how these demons operate. They overwhelm you with evil, and we are the good fighting the evil. Chris and I are at it, pretty much 24/7. I wake them up in the middle of the night sometimes, and we just don't stop.
This is true.
I do that too sometimes.
So that first here's what's going on. We had a special election in the district, the House District 90, which I reside in, and the conservative one, her name is Maria Zacks, and I really hope she She beats the demon, the Democrat that's running. The rhino that ran against her already endorsed the Democrat. So this is what you have: this cross pollination of
Uniparty
in Palm Beach County, and this is what I call predictive programming, where they're going to steal the election so Maria Zack loses, but they're going to say, well, Bill Reichert, he endorsed the Democrats, so that's why you got so many of these blank ballots. I mean, vote by mail ballots that that threw the election. So here's the scheme that is happening on Friday, October 10th, at 4301 Cherry Road in West Palm Beach. This is what I call the Fortress of Fraud. This is the new supervisor of elections building, complete with enough bay doors to rival an Amazon distribution center. They got to get those vote by mail ballots in and out, right? They got like 15 bay doors. They got 30, I don't know how many thousands, at least 100,000 square feet, but they all sit behind bulletproof glass. Now, here's the scheme. If you could show my screen that I'm sharing, that you had up first. Okay, so this is totally contravenes Attorney General opinions on recording at public meetings. It contravenes Sun Law, Florida Statute 284.011, and it also contravenes an Attorney General's opinion from good old Pinellas County, where the school board, they wanted to ban recording of their meetings. They want to hold them in the dark. So on Friday, the canvassing board will certify the primary win of Maria Zack's at the Fortress of Fraud, 4301 Cherry Road, at about 4:30 p.m. But here's the scheme. Now, they post this sign before you walk into the area where the canvassing board convenes. So they're characterizing that, well, you can't record back here because everything's so confidential and, we got to conceal our fraud. But they're violating those three authorities that I just mentioned. But here's what makes it worse. This is the Republican Executive Committee of Palm Beach, the chairman, okay, who's an attorney now. Mind you, this man holds a bar card, and he is basically in touch with Wendy Link via text messaging, and they're already framing their mischaracterization of the law by, first of all, it's the design of the room. They plastered big screen monitors all over the room, so if you go to record anybody, chances are you're going to get that big screen. And on the big screen, they post ballots, vote by ballots with signatures. So if you record, you committed a crime, you can't take that signature. So this is by design. This is a scheme. This has been going on since the Fortress of Fraud was first opened up back, I think, around June of 2024. And this is Carl Cassio trying to basically deter anyone from going to this canvassing board meeting, which I'm encouraging the public to come in masses. Okay, we need to go in there, cameras out, not be disruptive, peacefully enter the canvassing board meeting and record the meeting. Now, Carl Cassio is an attorney. Any attorney in his position of power should be able to identify those three authorities. So this is the very short of it. This is what's going on this week, and I'm calling on everyone to attend. We have to set the tone because they want to certify in darkness. They don't even want to be seen. They scurry in through the back door with like deputies, protecting them with body armor. Okay, these people are evil demons, and they must be exposed. Their faces must be exposed, and that we need to add sunshine to the entire certification process that happens at the canvassing board meeting.
Wow. That's so you want everybody to come. So give that address again, Jeff.
Yeah, it's 4301 Cherry Road in West Palm Beach, Florida. And we're gonna start rallying at around 2:30 p.m. right across the street. And so that's the location. It's right. It's basically right behind the the Palm Beach International Airport, which opens a whole nother can of worms, because supposedly whoever owns that property of the airport leased this property to the county, and there's like no line items for this fortress of fraud that cost about $35 million on the county budget. So, we don't know where the money even came from to build this this debauchery of it's a fortress of fraud. It's exactly what it is. It's designed to conceal fraud, and it's an Amazon distribution center. When we close it down, we can lease it to Amazon. Literally, there's so many bay doors to orchestrate the ballot fraud that goes on.
Chris, what do you add to that, my friend?
Well, there's definitely a conspiracy over there in Palm Beach County. We've been seeing Uthmeyer and Blaise Angolia running around the state, and Jay Collins, by the way. They're all running around the state of Florida saying how great a job they're doing policing the misuse and abuse of taxpayer dollars. Yet, they're allowing Wendy Link to use taxpayer dollars to fund her election fraud cover-up lawsuit with Bungie and her own election contest with Bungie. Both, by the way, are illegal. Can't do that. There's numerous attorney general opinions on the use of taxpayer money to fund private election challenges. And there's actually a law that talks specifically about what you can use taxpayer money for with regards to official duties. And unfortunately for Wendy Link, and as what we've seen here in Pinellas County, a lot of their actions and activities are, one, not in the public interest because they perpetuate actual factual election fraud and the disenfranchisement of voters. So it's they've done some really bad stuff, and we have to hold them accountable. And we're not gonna let them off the hook. So what you have there is an attorney general opinion, I believe, talking about that you can't use taxpayer funds. And in Wendy Link's case, she's using a law firm, Gunster Law, and Gregor Schwinghammer, and they're probably at around a couple of $100,000 right now in misappropriated taxpayer funds. But our law and order attorney general is more concerned about helping cover up the election crimes by his co-conspirators. So, let's not forget, Wendy Link was appointed by Ron DeSantis, just like Julie Marcus was.
As a Republican.
Yes, as a Republican, too, yes.
And she flipped.
Yeah.
So let me just ask, I'll start with Jeff. What's the latest? You got some lawsuits going on, too, right? What's the updates on those?
Yeah, we're going to appeal. Right now, we're putting the documents together. We're also, we disqualified the Judge Cheeseman. We had an evidentiary hearing on July 1st. We actually did a hit on this, the Batman and Robin hit. Mm-hmm. And that's when the Palm Beach County Sheriff practically grabbed Chris out of the witness stand because she was about to expose the system log file that shows that there's more votes than there are ballots, and they're doing everything in their power to cover this up and to deny the public of these records. So we're on appeal. We're also filing motions with the lower tribunal to vacate that illegal judgment that was issued after we motioned to have the judge disqualified. And Judge Cheeseman, she's Jamaican born, first of all, just, that's on the side note, which a lot of these judges are, which, that's coming to light now. Yeah. So that's where we are. We still have grounds to file motions in the lower court based on the fraud, based on this conspiracy that's going on. We have we have a line in the water with the appeals court, and Chris just had a great ruling with the Florida Supreme Court. So we're going all the way up the ladder. Eventually, we're building our case to bring to federal court, which is not based on machines and melting them down and doing crazy stuff like Mike Lindell. It's based on our rights being violated. Not that there's anything wrong with Mike Lindell, but we're not going anywhere with the machines. We've seen this over and over, and this is something people can understand, and judges will rule on. Our rights are being violated through a conspiracy to keep me out of office and to basically throw elections. And it's very simple federal law that's in play. It's Title 42 U.S. Code 1985. But Chris had a great ruling just the other day. Maybe he wants to expand on that.
Go ahead, my friend. Go ahead, Chris.
So in the light of Bonji's case, his judge actually disqualified herself, which was rather shocking. In my case, we had numerous circuit court judges who should never have presided over the case due to conflicts. And then we had the Second District Court of Appeals. They refused to self-disqualify, even though they are actually and factually connected to the fraud in the case. So I filed my initial brief with the second DCA after they refused to disqualify themselves, even after I asked them to disqualify themselves and presented all of the evidence, which they know that they should have disqualified themselves. But so what I did was I filed for a writ of prohibition with the Florida Supreme Court. And we went back and forth a few times in some filings, and we had a good win the other day. I had filed initially with the Supreme Court a bare bones petition with no evidence, and the bad guys wanted to make sure that it was a bare bones petition with no evidence. But we did some legal maneuvering, and we compelled them to allow the amendment and supplement of the record. And so now we have a very vigorous legal argument that I don't think that they're going to have any wiggle room to get around.
So just this is the case that was about your election?
Yeah.
So the one that I went to where she sealed everything. So you've gotten that evidence readmitted, is what you're saying?
Yeah, a good portion of it. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
So, yeah, it is. So, an interesting side note, right, is that there have been since that first case, her first disqualification. We've had two pivotal U.S. Supreme Court cases that have come up. One was against Simon and Schuster and I believe Penguin Publishing, and the United States Supreme Court declined to hear the case because so many of the judges were conflicted, and so they didn't want to have an appearance of a potential bias, just an appearance of a potential bias. So I think it was like 4 or 5 Supreme Court justices said, nope, we're disqualifying. So the lower courts are going to have to deal with this. We can't handle this. And I heard last night, or this morning rather, that the United States Supreme Court refused to hear Laura Loomer's case, and I guess Alito disqualified or recused himself from that hearing because of the. What's that?
What was that case about?
Laura Loomer was trying to get the United States Supreme Court to pick up her censorship case by big tech. And so they declined once again to hear another pivotal big tech censorship immunity case. And but Alito, he self-disqualified from even making that decision, which is very interesting in light of the fact that we have an entire circuit court here in Florida where all of the judges were materially connected because their elections were subject to this same pattern of fraud in the same election.
And some of them actually requested ballots. Am I right?
That's somebody requested the ballots in their names.
Yeah.
And so, and what was funny is that these judges, they were protected voters. And a protected voter can't request their ballot online. And so that would mean that, you know, a good portion of the judges in Pinellas County and in Hillsborough County had their ballots illegally requested. How do you preside over a case that you're a material witness and only the judges or their spouses who had the ballots ordered in their names can testify to how they did it?
Yeah. Not to mention the 200 and something thousand that were requested on one day when the office was closed. I still love that one. Has anybody addressed that at all?
Well, there is a conspiracy by the state attorney and the Florida Secretary of State and Division of Elections to conceal this information. And what they're doing is they're claiming quietly behind the scenes to other people that it's a bug. I'm like, yeah, it's not a bug. This is a feature. But this is, you know, they're not going to get away with this. They can't steal our elections via wire fraud and mail fraud and not be held accountable.
So, Jeff, what do you think about President Trump's vote by mail executive order and, you know, push to remove that? Is that realistic?
Well, you know, that brings up a great point. I am running for United States Congress, and I will be a federal candidate. So as I mentioned, we're going to scale this up to the federal court system for a rights violation. And as we progress, I will file injunctions forcing Wendy Link and Florida to enforce the executive orders that Trump defines. Now, you know, these executive orders look great on paper, but getting these demons to actually follow them is a whole nother story. So this is part of the plan that for the 2026 midterms, where I will be a federal candidate and quite possibly someone else very close to me will be federal candidates, and we will file injunctions. And what if we're successful, the demons will still run the local elections the way they do with blank ballots galore and, you know, all this technology that is controlled by, you know, foreign operatives. And, you know, you'll see 12, 14-point swings because we know what they're doing. We know the percentage of what they're doing. United Sovereign Americans just released a report yesterday that 12.1% of all Palm Beach County voter registrations were not verifiable or had duplicate social security numbers. So what do I think? Yeah, Trump's, you know, he's trying. He's got his hands full. We're fighting the ground. We're fighting the ground fight here in Florida, and, you know, we're not letting up. And there might be another announcement about federal candidates, you know, in the very near future, possibly today.
So we have that story which you mentioned about the 12.1% on the Miami Independent. Let me just throw that up for people. So if you go to miamiindependent.com, you can see the story that Jeff is talking about, where over 10% of the ballots in Palm Beach County were found to be fraudulent or at least suspect, correct?
Yeah, 12.1%.
So, Chris, what about the Venezuela whistleblower, Tina Peters? I mean, the Serbia thing has been going around for a long time. Venezuela, what is that going to have any impact on the 26 election? We're getting close to 26 here, man.
It better. Otherwise, we're going to have some real big problems. But we'll see. You know, I mean, we know already, right, that the corrupt judicial insurrection nationwide, they're going to fight, right? They're going to fight Trump on all his executive orders, okay? Because they're not real judges, okay? They're just not. They are political activists hacktivists and judicial insurrectionists in robes, and they're waging a judicial coup against the United States and its citizens, and we're not going to let them do that. So we're going to fight them. We're going to fight them with lawfare. We're going to fight them in the court of public opinion, and candidates like Jeff and myself, we're gonna do what we can to secure our elections and ensure that that even though the judges may try to do something, we can make things untenable for them by shining light on all of this, right? Because our elections aren't trade secrets, and they can't be held in secret. And we know they're fraud. We've caught them. We've done such a good job of catching them at the fraud here in Florida. They have to change the law to hide the fraud.
Yeah, that happened 2 years ago. So this has been going on for a while.
And they do it. They do it through an organization called the Florida Supervisors of Elections. And the chairman of the Republican Party of Florida, I think he's now somewhere in the RNC, Evan Power. He is behind the lobbying to change the laws that so they can cover the fraud. And this is so you have a nexus between Carl Cassio, who's shilling for Wendy Link. He's mischaracterizing laws, saying, because Ucava ballots are going to be there, you guys can't record. You have Evan Power. He's going in front of Don Gates. He's the head of the Senate. And getting special airtime to basically undo and conceal the fraud.
Chris, let me ask you. We've had some death threats here due to our reporting. Candace is coming out today saying that there's evidence that may come out that Charlie said the day before he died that they're going to kill me. Have you guys been threatened at all?
People have asked if I'm concerned or we're concerned, and I've got some pretty good. I've got the best security that there is, and I understand. I'm not an easy target. Neither is Jeff. Yeah, and I'm not afraid.
Yeah, to answer your question, I've had at least a dozen. When I ran for supervisor of elections, there was an article in the New York Times where we exposed me familia vota, and then right after that I had a flurry of death threats. And then speaking to Tina Peters, I came out with some folks, and we did a forensics review of the actual images that she grabbed, and we saw the time stopping. And I came public with that, and after that, I got a few death threats. But just brush right through them.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not going to stop, though, and we're not going to stop. And if they try to unalive us, it's not going to go the way that they think.
Yeah, for the record, I'm not suicidal.
So Jeff, tell people you've got some stuff on the screen. Tell people where to find you for our audio audience. There's a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, sure. So. My campaign website is my name, jeffbuongiorno.com. And
how do you spell that?
Very carefully. I'm going to make it real easy. Vote Bongi. VoteBongi.com is going to redirect to here. So if you go to VoteBongi.com, you will get my campaign website. I'm also part of a nonprofit, which I'm resigning from. Any executive duties. You go to tinyurl.com, help Bongi. That goes to funding research. It's not political. It's by any means. It's just to fund research on elections, on laws, and we make that public to both Democrats and Republicans. So you got two sources. You got tinyurl.com, help Bongi, and then you have my campaign website, which is votebongi.com.
Chris, what about you?
Well, they can find me on the Miami Independent and immutabletruthelections.substack.com.
And Yeah, the Miami Independent has been really impactful, and it's getting much more impactful and much more read as we go. So if you're in Central Florida or Lower Florida, or really the South in general, the Miami Independent is becoming the paper of record for grassroots in the South. Anything else, Chris? What's next?
More lawfare, and
Friday.
There may be some more federal candidate announcements here shortly. So,
and Bonji, give that address again for Friday, please.
Friday, yes, it's 4301 Cherry Road, and that's in West Palm Beach. That's about 3:30 p.m. Anybody you could make it, that would be great.
Thank you much, guys. We'll see you again soon, I'm sure. Take care.
Take care. Thank you.
Well, in the case of hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, these are two medications that have been FDA approved for use in humans for decades. They are very, very inexpensive. Interestingly, available over the counter in almost every other country other than the US and Canada. You can just walk into a pharmacy and buy them like we buy Tylenol in much of the world because they're that safe. And we've known for decades that ivermectin has very strong antiviral properties. It has anti-inflammatory properties, and both ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine are what we call zinc ionophores. They help to move zinc from the bloodstream into the cell, which is where it needs to be in order to fight off a virus. So lots of application for these, and we have every reason to believe that those drugs also will likely have some efficacy against H5N1 or a number of other respiratory viruses that we may meet down the road.
If you haven't noticed, gold has reached a new high, all-time highs actually, and keeps going up every day. Why is that? It's because precious metals are a long-time historical store of value. And if you own a portfolio and you have assets in the fiat currencies, i.e. stocks, bonds, cash, or whatever, you're vulnerable to hyperinflation, which is coming as our debt explodes another trillion every 90 days. It's really scary. So how do you protect yourself? Go to Advisor Metals. If you look on any of our cdm.press sites, about halfway down, there's an ad for Advisor Metals. Click on it, fill out the form for your contact info, and Ira Bishotsky will contact you and talk to you. It's an easy conversation. There's no sales pitch. He's completely verified by us. He has a regulatory background we've checked into. We've checked with his bankers. We've checked with his IRA custodians for metals, and we can highly recommend Advisor Metals and Ira. So go to Advisor Metals. If you call them directly, tell them we sent you at CDM, and he'll definitely take care of you. But protect your portfolio because you really need to. It's coming. Thank you. Welcome back to the SCIF. Let's do the mission brief. Get that out of the way. Today is October 8th. This is your mission brief. Russia says Alaska momentum is over. The economic advisor to the Kremlin said that all the momentum that was built during the Alaska summit with Trump and Putin has evaporated and that the war goes on. That's not good. We've talked about yesterday President Trump possibly authorizing tomahawks into Russia. We're completely against that. We want to ring the bell on that and scream it from the rooftops. We don't want to be like the sign or the song says, 99 red balloons. Here I am sitting pretty in the ash that was a city. We want to scream. We don't want war. We don't want nuclear conflict. We want it to end. We want the Ukraine war over. We want the wars in the Middle East over. Turkey rises in the Middle East and in the White House. You've seen President Trump. We'll talk about that in a second. Renewables fade. Renewable energy is cut in half as far as demand in the U.S. and across the world. That's mostly due to Trump's policies. We'll talk about that. We're going to do the episode 3 of Tucker's 9/11 disclosure. I think that's really important to continue the disclosure. We're not accusing anyone of anything here, but we are going to put out information that you can make your own decisions and to make sure that you are aware of what's happening. And we've delved into the Palm Beach election fraud pretty strongly there. Let's look at the story on Turkey. Turkey rises in opposition to Israel. And I wrote, this is on cdm.press, wrote this morning, several agendas. One, Trump wants a peace deal in Gaza, and Erdogan, who is the president of Turkey. It used to be a pretty secular state after the Ottoman Empire with Ataturk, but Erdogan has moved it more into a new Islamic state in the Middle East and Central Asia. So he's key to ending the conflict. He's in touch with Hamas, and Trump is buttering him up in order to get a deal with Hamas. Erdogan's also staunchly anti-Israel, and he's become kind of an impediment to Israel in the White House. Trump needs him. And Trump also wants help in confronting Netanyahu, I believe. And so that is a thing that's going on. And also Turkey, Erdogan was the one who brought down Assad. We had Eric Prince on here a while back talking about how Turkish special forces were primarily behind the taking out of Assad, which is the Shia influence in Syria. It's now run by the Golani government, former Al-Qaeda terrorist who's put on a suit and got a haircut, and now he's Jesus, it seems like, in the Middle East. So we will continue on this story. By the way, we're going to be in Beirut next month, or actually in a few weeks, and talk about all of this. We'll be in Beirut and reporting direct again from the region. This is a big one. U.S. renewable growth outlook halved. Renewable energy under Trump is getting the disclosure and that it's not economical and not effective for our energy that it needs. And so we hope this continues. We hope, I don't want to see any more windmills. They're not recyclable. They create a lot of waste. They kill birds. They're not effective, providing real-time power only certain times of the day. So it's just not really money well spent. We have plenty of energy under our feet with hydrocarbons and other options coming online. So we hope renewable continues to go down. By the way, on the Manhattan.press, let me bring this up. If you go to the top menu, the Manhattan bestsellers list, all of the books, these are editors' picks, but we've got adult nonfiction, adult fiction, politics, history, young adult fiction and nonfiction, children's fiction and nonfiction. These are just the best-selling books. You notice we have Howard Zinn's book on there, number 3. Black AF History, the unwhitewashed story of America. We don't try to control what books are on here. It's only the best-selling books. So please check these out, and you can buy them. You go find the book you want. You can go to checkout and buy it. And if you do that, you go to the CDM bookstore, and you can search for any book you want in the top search item. So buy your books from us, whether it's for school, for your business, for the trip, for the airplane ride, for sitting around the fire this winter with a good book. Buy it from us. You support free media, and you don't support Amazon and those who are against your interests. Let's talk about this. Well, actually, that is the Tucker issue. I'm not going to bring that up right now. I want to talk a little bit about the Charlie Kirk assassination. There's a lot coming out on this, a lot of information. I'm going to play this from Candace, and then we'll discuss.
3 people told me off record. 2 people who have this in a written communication from Charlie. One who is a Turning Point USA donor, and I would say very much one of the white knights in this. The very day before Charlie Kirk died, he expressed that he thought he was going to be killed. He told these people, I think they're going to kill me. Okay. He did not express that to me. So I am telling you this based off the testimony of 3 people. And I am saying this because I hope that these people who I think are good will be inspired to come forward with that. Now, again, those conversations I had were off record. I honor that. If I say it's off record, it stays off record. But I'm hoping that watching what I am doing and feeling the energy that is rising across the world for people who want to know what the heck happened on 9/10, that, they will be brave and they will say, yeah, Charlie did the day before he died think that he was going to be killed, and maybe tell us, who is they? Well, for once and for all, who is they? Who is the they that he thought were going to kill him? Now, to answer.
So there you go. We're going to stay on top of that and see what information comes out. Candace has been all over this, whether you agree with her or not. She's bringing out good information. We don't think that was a hit by a 30-06. We don't think the narrative they're putting out is correct. There's a lot of squirming going on in different circles. You can see it on Twitter, and she's pouring on gas on it. So again, we're not agreeing with what she said. We're not accusing anyone. We are just providing information, and we're going to continue to provide information because that is what we do. So I also want to show you this. Let me bring this up, which is very interesting from our good friend Chris Gleason. And hold on, I'm going to play that over. Sorry, a little bit of craziness going on here. Okay, here we go.
All right, you see this deer? This is a big deer. This was a big deer. I shot it with a 30-06. You see that? Right there? That right there was what a 30-06 did to its neck, okay? And that was with a lot of taxidermy. All right, you see this deer? This is a big deer. This was a big deer. I shot it with a 30-06. You see that? Right there? That right there was what a 30-06 did to its neck.
So if you look at that, you can tell that a 30-06 blew out its entire neck. That was a deer that Chris Gleason shot. That didn't happen to Charlie. So we're thinking that this wound was not created by a 30-06, and you had the stupid, infamous spine of steel comment from Turning Point. Oh, Charlie's neck was so strong. It was a miracle. The spine of steel stopped the 30-06 bullet and didn't blow out the neck like that did on that deer. That's a lie, my friends. So there's a lot of lies. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of decoys. There's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of, just decoys to get you off really what happened. And we're going to continue to report on this because there's a lot of good information coming out, and we want you to be aware of it. Now, another thing I wanted to bring up, if you go to cdm.press, let me bring this up again. So if you go to cdm.press, top menu, we've started cataloging some of our Ukraine research over the years. You can go to Ukraine files, top right corner. A lot of information on the truth behind Ukraine, but this one we put out in 2019. It was published in October 18th of 2019. We've since reposted it. Burisma paid former Ukrainian President Poroshenko $100 million to suppress New York or Hunter Biden investigation in 2017. This is a big deal, guys, because we were on this in 2019. This came out from the DNI yesterday or 2 days ago that, well, we said was true. So let me bring this article up. This is from the New York Post. FBI files released by Chuck Schumer or Senator Chuck Grassley show Hunter and Joe Biden bribery allegations. They talk about this $100 million bribe there. So we were 6 years early, guys. 6 years early we were on these stories. So you can go to the Ukraine files on cdm.press and see it all. There is this story, and there is also, let me go back. Witnesses traveled in 2018 to provide Biden corruption information to DOJ. It was covered up. We have information on the money laundering. We have information. This is actually a photo that we had of evidence of money laundering inside the Ukrainian government prosecutor's office. So we had it all in 2016, or actually on through 2018 and 19, and we reported it, and we were heavily deplatformed, attacked, debanked, everything, violence, death threats, everything. So we've been there. We have the scars to prove it, but we're always early. I just wanted to point that out, that we know what we're talking about here at CDM. We're going to take a break, and then I want to delve into the Tucker 9/11 story. We'll be right back.
I'm a naturopathic doctor. We are in the world of medicine very acquainted with many modalities, but probably the one most familiar with everybody would be two things: homeopathy and herbs, maybe some nutrients too, vitamins, minerals, that kind of thing. Now, we do know a lot about the drugs because we have to find out what drug you're taking affects you and what nutrient it depletes you of, because most every drug pharmacy product will deplete something. So we have been trained and we have a database that we can check into that says this is going to take your B12 away. The pharmaceutical company cannot patent organic substances made by the body. You're not born short of Advil. You're not born short of Ritalin.
Yeah.
You can be born short of insulin, right?
Mm-hmm.
The answers to staying healthy and keeping away from even SARS or any of those things getting into you is staying healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You and I get sick because our terrain gets out of balance. Well, that's the same thing in the soil. You and I are made from this thing called dirt. And when we get out of balance, we have the same thing happen. Weeds start to grow in our body. Right? And that's what we want in our body. We want nutrients that we don't understand how to get well enough yet because our suppliers are lacking knowledge on nutrient density foods.
So this is what drove you to develop this, was your knowledge of this, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know that.
I'm excited to announce that we're having a huge sale on overstock and brand new products. For example, My Pillow Percale bed sheets, every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. Our Percale bed sheets are breathable, cool and crisp, and they're perfect for spring and summer. And check out Rev 7, the next generation of energy drinks. It tastes great, and it gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. Best of all, it's actually good for you. And for a limited time, try our 3-pack absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs, or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88. Twin size, full size, queen size, king sizes, all $29.88. Inventory is extremely limited at this price, so order now.
Christmas is coming, guys. You got your gifts ready. You got your stocking stuffers. MyPillow.com. MyPillow.com. Check out everything there. I like the mattress topper. Highly recommended. The towels are fantastic. They actually work, as Mike says. Use promo code CDM. You get the best discounts. But go there, get your gifts out of the way, put them under the bed, and you'll be ready to wrap them when we get close. But you don't want to be waiting to the last minute. Also, gold. Gold popped over 4,000 yesterday or early this morning. I'm not sure when, but it's there. And this is a big move that's going to keep going. So protect your portfolio. We are entering some very difficult financial times, and precious metals have been a store of value for thousands of years, 5,000 years, as we said on the ad there. So go to advisormetals.com. You can find them at cdmmetals.com. Find them there, and you fill out the form, and it'll take you right. They'll contact you. Essentially, you fill out the form with your contact information, and they will get in touch with you. Or if you go to Advisor Metals directly, tell them we sent you, please, because that way we get credit for the trades. And thanks for the business there, by the way. We're getting a lot of business coming through with Advisor Metals, and that's at cdmmetals.com. You can find out everything you need. You can get your free precious metals investment guide there at cdmmetals.com. We think and metals are going to keep going. Silver's on a tear, gold's on a tear, and as we enter this really unstable period over the next few years, violence, wars, everything, financial risk, having your assets, at least a portion of them, in metals will be highly recommended. And also, we've talked about this before. This is a silver round. You can get these at Advisor Metals, and they're great to barter if the grids goes down or whatever, and you can save your money from inflation and also have something to be able to use at the same time. And you can also do this inside an IRA. We checked out his bankers. We check out the team's bankers. We checked out the team's IRA custodians at Advisor Metals. We checked his regulatory background. We can highly recommend him. Our customers really love the experience they've had with them. So thank you for that, and keep that up. We really appreciate it. I'm going to play Tucker's episode 3. We're getting close here. I think he's got some information he's going to drop. This is stuff you need to know. We talk about this a lot. So here we go, and you'll be aware what we've been told on 9/11 is false. It's a lie.
High probability of near-term spectacular terrorist attacks. The Bush administration did everything it possibly could to undermine an actual investigation into what happened on September 11th. But why? What were they trying to hide?
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
Well, for one thing, the United States had incredible intelligence on bin Laden and his plans, precise intelligence, actionable intelligence. On August 6, 2001, President Bush received a presidential daily briefing. Its title, literally, Bin Laden Determined to Strike in U.S. It continued. Al-Qaeda members, including some who were U.S. citizens, have resided in or traveled to the U.S. for years, and the group apparently maintains a support structure that could aid attacks. And then it added this. FBI information indicates patterns of suspicious activity consistent with preparations for hijacking. Bin Laden was mentioned no fewer than 40 times in the president's daily intelligence briefing. CIA Director George Tenet said that in the summer of 2001, quote, the system was blinking red. So how far-fetched was it that Al-Qaeda might hijack airplanes and fly them into buildings? Not very far-fetched, it turns out. In May 2001, an intelligence report concluded this. Operatives may hijack airplanes, end quote. The FAA issued a circular to airlines warning of heightened increase in hijackings. And then in July of 2001, the FAA issued another circular, this one noting that, quote, currently active terror groups were known to plan and train for hijackings and were able to build and conceal explosives in luggage. Between 1999 and 2001, NORAD, which defends North American airspace, simulated a foreign hijacked airliner crashing into a building in the United States as part of a training exercise. And they were not alone. The National Reconnaissance Office, a little-known intelligence agency that runs our spy satellites and remote-controlled surveillance planes, was planning an exercise in which an errant aircraft would crash into one of its buildings. That exercise was on September 11th, 2001. And planned to take place just a couple of miles from Dulles Airport. That's where the American Airlines flight number 77 had taken off before it crashed into the Pentagon. In other words, the idea of Al-Qaeda hijacking an airplane and flying into a building was entirely plausible before 9/11. Officials knew it could happen, and there were other signs as well. During the presidential transition in 2000 and 2001, 9 months before 9/11, Bill Clinton told President Bush, I think by far your greatest threat is bin Laden and Al-Qaeda. In January of 2001, Philip Zelikow, the future executive director of the 9/11 Commission, attended a briefing in which Condoleezza Rice, the future national security advisor, was warned by Sandy Berger, that would be Bill Clinton's outgoing national security advisor, that, quote, the biggest national security threat facing this country is Al-Qaeda. On July 10th, 2001, the CIA director George Tenet and his counterterrorism deputy Jay Cofer Black were so alarmed by intelligence pointing to an impending attack by Al-Qaeda that they demanded an emergency meeting at the White House with Condoleezza Rice and her Security Council staff. In fact, on the morning of the attacks, Director of Central Intelligence Tenet told a U.S. senator, quote, I wonder if it has anything to do with this guy taking pilot training. And of course it did. By any measure, including, according to the heavily biased commission report, George W. Bush, and particularly Condoleezza Rice, had ample warning that Al-Qaeda was plotting an attack. And by all accounts, the U.S. intel agencies were fully aware the hijackers were in the United States. And in fact, it helped at least 2 of them get to the United States. U.S. intelligence was so strong at the time, on the morning of the attacks, the majority of the hijackers were flagged at the airport for additional screening. The question is, how did they wind up on the watch list in the first place? The report never tells us.
Well, my name is Mike Scheuer. I worked at the CIA for 22 years. And from 1995 until 1999, I was chief of the Osama bin Laden unit. I would say it was 1983 to 1992. I worked on Afghanistan. I worked on the war against the Soviets in Afghanistan. Bin Laden was a popular name during the war against the Soviets. We knew he was fighting in Afghanistan with the Mujahideen. He was the poster boy for jihad in Saudi Arabia, so he was well known throughout the Arab world.
Osama bin Laden was born in 1957 in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. In 1979, Osama bin Laden moved to Afghanistan to fight the Soviet invasion there. After the war, he returned to Saudi Arabia, but he was eventually exiled to Sudan because he was openly critical of the Saudi government's close ties to the United States. In 1996, he returned to Afghanistan and declared war on the U.S.
In 1996, bin Laden announced what he said was his declaration of war against the United States. And it's a very compelling document to this day because it doesn't have anything to do with what the American people were told about either Islam or Al-Qaeda or Osama bin Laden.
America was targeted for attack because we're the brightest beacon for freedom and opportunity in the world.
The basis of the declaration of war from him was, get out of our land. That was a compelling message within a Middle Eastern framework that had been dominated by the United States government and the Israelis since the end of World War II.
Since then, the United States has been repeatedly attacked in the region.
Now the fanatics behind this bomb have given the French soldiers and their American counterparts 10 days to leave Lebanon or die.
In 1983, a group called Islamic Jihad murdered more than 300 U.S. Marines at a military barracks in Beirut. At the time, it was the largest non-nuclear explosion since Nagasaki.
The 4-story concrete building collapsed in a pile of rubble. More than 200 of the sleeping men were killed in that one hideous, insane attack.
In 1993, a Pakistani national called Ramzi Youssef bombed the World Trade Center in Lower Manhattan.
The key question now, was this a one-off attack or the start of a campaign of bombing?
By 1996, Al-Qaeda had emerged as the single clearest threat to the United States. In response to that threat, the CIA created something called ALEC Station, otherwise known as the Bin Laden Unit, which Mike Scheuer ran. But as it turned out, not everyone at the CIA wanted to help fight Al-Qaeda.
We wanted some basic information about Osama bin Laden, his bank accounts, his health information, his educational information, very basic things. We kept sending a message because it was important. We were building a base of data. And so the COS in Saudi Arabia at the time, John Brennan, we didn't know if he was dealing with them on the issue or not. And so we finally sent a message that didn't say pretty please, but said, please do this as quickly as possible. He called Tenant. And that was the end of that. Don't send Brennan any more of these notes. So whatever the reason was, I don't know. But, if you identify a liaison service who has information you need, it's not impossible to persuade them to do it since we defend Saudi Arabia, especially in that case. We were told not to send any more cables on that issue to Riyadh. Just because I was the chief of operations on Osama bin Laden didn't mean there wasn't somebody else working on the same issue in an opposite direction. And as it turned out, the opposite direction carried the day with the approval of presidents.
As Brennan was withholding critical information on bin Laden, the CIA's Counterterrorism Center started developing a plan to capture bin Laden at a terrorist training facility known as Tarnak Farms.
Tarnak Farms is where he lived. We knew Osama bin Laden, his family, Zawahiri's family, and a couple of the most senior Al-Qaeda people were going to be there. And initially, the administration went along with it.
The plan was finalized with the help of friendly Afghan tribal leaders. It was even rehearsed twice in the United States in late 1997. All it needed was approval from the White House. On March 7th, 1998, Richard Clarke, who headed the Interagency Counterterrorism Security Group, described the plan as embryonic to then National Security Advisor Sandy Berger, even as the CIA was conducting its third rehearsal of the action. Military officers in the Pentagon reviewed the plan, and despite some mild misgivings that could have been attributed to interdepartmental rivalries, they generally expressed their satisfaction. They supported it. Legal justifications were prepared in advance from the CIA to the NSC for approval. The Attorney General of the United States, the FBI Director, and the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, where bin Laden was to be tried if he was captured alive, were all briefed on the plan. The CIA ran a fourth rehearsal between May 20th and May 24th, with the expectation that the plan would be executed in late June of that year and no later than late July. And yet, less than a week later, the CIA's assets in the field were informed that the operation had been suspended by the Clinton administration. Fall is here. Summer is over. You're probably a little hungover from it. You're back to your normal life. You're not thinking about what's happening in the news, but a lot is happening in the news. An awful lot. Things are changing faster than ever before, and that means you need to be sharp, clear, and alert to respond to what's happening. That's why I want to tell you about something that helps you remain sharp, clear, and alert. Beam's Dream Powder. We've talked about this before. This is an American company founded by people who actually believe in the core values of the country: hard work, clean products, personal responsibility. Beam's Dream Powder is clean. It's got no fillers, nothing's weird synthetic in there. People on our team use Beam's Dream Powder to fall asleep and stay asleep throughout the night. And they don't wake up groggy because it's not a pharma product. It's natural. Over 18 million nights of sleep have been improved by Beam. They keep track. That's 18 million nights of people getting their strength back. Now it's time to stock up. Beam is running a sale for this show's listeners. For Prime Day for the next 24 hours, in fact, we'll double it, next 48 hours. Get up to 40% off the entire store. That's everything. Their best-selling Dream Powder is only $29.99. That's the lowest it's ever been. This is the biggest sale you'll ever see of this product, and it's only for listeners to this show. Visit shopbeam.com/Tucker. Use the code Patriot40 for up to 40% off. That's shopbeam.com, BEAM/Tucker. Use the code Patriot40 for up to 40% off. Highly recommended.
When we wrote the operational plan, you have to keep in mind, speaking to the policymaker, you have to keep in mind that they have their families there. And if there is violence, if they don't surrender, there's liable to be people killed, non-combatants. They said, okay, we'll go ahead with it. So that one went almost to the starting gate. And one of the last dumps of overhead imagery we got happened to show a child swing set. And they suddenly said, oh, we can't do that. What if that picture gets out and we'll be responsible?
A clear pattern emerged throughout Scheuer's tenure at Alex Station. Whenever there was a chance to kill or capture Osama bin Laden, the Clinton administration chose not to do it.
We had an operation that was planned to kidnap bin Laden within Afghanistan.
The plan was supposed to unfold just days before al-Qaeda bombed the American embassies in Kenya and Tanzania.
It was a plan that required getting him out of the country and then taking him to another country. And it was approved. And then it was at a last minute, it was unapproved. And then a week later, the embassies went up.
The greatest fear tonight is that what has happened here will herald some alarming new phase in international terrorism.
About 4:00 in the morning, George Tenet, who was the DCI at the time, calls my office number, and I pick it up and said, yep, Scheuer. I said, yeah. And somebody else put him on. And he said, can we revive that program? The president wants to know if we can revive the program on the capture operation. By Tenet's words, realized they missed an opportunity perhaps to stop the operation. But that got to be a habit throughout the rest of my career there.
Less than 2 weeks after the attacks, Clinton launched cruise missiles at targets he said were associated with bin Laden.
Today, I ordered our armed forces to strike at terrorist-related facilities in Afghanistan and Sudan. Our mission was clear: to strike at the network of radical groups affiliated with and funded by Osama bin Laden.
But the strike was worthless. In fact, it was embarrassing. The Pentagon targeted suspected terrorist training facilities in Afghanistan and a pharmaceutical factory in Sudan, which U.S. intelligence falsely claimed was making chemical weapons. The pattern became clearer over time. The CIA would offer a way to capture or kill bin Laden, and then somebody would call off the strike at the last moment.
To me, it's a mystery. To me, going after Osama bin Laden was hard work, but it could have been accomplished by 97. And then from 97 till I left in 99, there were 10 more opportunities. And none of them were taken advantage of. Kill, capture, whatever the government wanted to do.
And the chances kept coming. In May of 1999, U.S. intelligence services had a credible lead that bin Laden was at his compound near Kandahar, Afghanistan. Officials in both the U.S. military and the CIA agreed this was the best opportunity they could hope for to kill bin Laden. They had at least 3 opportunities to strike, but they never did.
Somebody got wet feet.
Scheuer was removed from his role running Alex Station in 1999. He was replaced with a figure called Richard Blee, who barely comes up in the 9/11 Commission report. On October 12, 2000, the failure to act in bin Laden caught up to the agency and with our country when the USS Cole, a destroyer anchored in Aden, Yemen, was attacked by a suicide bomber.
Killed 17 soldiers on the USS Cole.
17 American servicemen died, but this time, the government didn't strike anyone or anything in retaliation. The official reason given by the report for the lack of action was that the administration lacked definitive proof that al-Qaeda was responsible for the terror attack.
We knew right away it was Osama bin Laden. And then I hear Clinton on the radio or on the television saying, well, my experts, my team, my intelligence community says we can't be sure if it's Osama bin Laden or not, or al-Qaeda or not. And we just stood there and said, no, what is he talking about?
In this case, the 9/11 Commission offers excuses for Clinton, citing an absurd blame game with Clinton administration officials who claimed they were waiting for the legal go-ahead from the CIA and the FBI. But at the same time, then CIA Director George Tenet is reported to have said that he was surprised to hear the White House was awaiting a conclusion from him on responsibility for the Cole attack. Everyone already knew who did it.
My impression over the course of my career, after over 22 years, is that the first thing the 7th floor ever considered when you brought them in operation to approve was, what if we fail and how will we get roasted by the media?
It took Bill Clinton just 13 days to respond to the embassy bombings. But for some reason, a reason that has never been explained, he had no response at all to the attack on the USS Cole. Even more bizarre and telling is the Bush administration's explanation for why it didn't respond. It was most clearly articulated by the neocon number 2 at the Pentagon, Paul Wolfowitz. He described the Cole bombing as stale by the time Bush took office. It was just 5 months after the terror attacks. Wolfowitz wanted something bigger to respond to, and soon he got it.
It was remarkable to watch this, especially after the man had declared war on us, reiterated it, said, your time is coming. We hadn't had a friend like that in terms of divulging what their true mission was since General Giap. And we didn't listen to him, and look where it got us. And look where we are now. Not only 9/11, but we lost another war to the Afghans.
If you want to understand why and how 9/11 happened, the years to look at most closely are 1999 to 2001. Those years coincided with George Tenet's implementation of what became known simply as the plan. To formulate this effort, CIA Director Tenet elevated a man called Cofer Black, a former spy who'd risen to head CIA stations in the Sudan and elsewhere, to director of the Counterterrorism Center. To give you an idea of Cofer Black's character, in 2017, he joined Hunter Biden on the board of directors of Burisma, the Ukrainian gas company. But at that time, in late 1999, the core of the future 9/11 hijackers were gathering in Afghanistan.
These 22 individuals do not account for all the terrorist activity in the world, but they're among the most dangerous. The leaders and key supporters, the planners and strategists. They must be found.
Here's a summary of some of the warnings they had. In December 1999, a 23-year-old Algerian man called Ahmed Rassam attempted to cross with a rental car on the ferry from Victoria, British Columbia to Port Angeles, Washington State. Thanks to alert border security in Port Angeles, Rassam was apprehended with hundreds of pounds of explosives in his car. His plan had been to set off a car bomb at LAX on January 1st, 2000. But the biggest warning signs of an impending attack in the United States came in the summer of 2001, just months or weeks before. On April 20th, 2001, a briefing to top Bush administration officials noted that bin Laden planned multiple operations. In May 2001, a report was distributed to Bush administration officials noting that bin Laden public profile may presage attack. On May 16, 2001, an intel report mentioned a phone call to an embassy that bin Laden's supporters were planning an attack inside the United States. On June 12th, a CIA report indicated that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was recruiting people to travel to the U.S., possibly to aid in terror attacks. On June 22nd of that year, the CIA notified station chiefs about intelligence suggesting an al-Qaeda suicide bombing in the United States could be on the way. At about the same time, U.S. intelligence issued a terror advisory threat indicating a high probability of near-term spectacular terrorist attacks resulting in numerous casualties. On June 25th, George W. Bush's counterterrorism czar Richard Clark told Condoleezza Rice that 6 intelligence reports showed al-Qaeda personnel warning of an impending terror attack. 3 days later, he told Rice that something very, 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 very big was about to happen. On June 30th, top U.S. intel officials were warned bin Laden planning high-profile attacks of catastrophic proportion. In July, intelligence reports of an impending attack reached a fever pitch that led to the closure of U.S. embassies in the Middle East. None of this apparently got the attention of the White House. Deputy Secretary of Defense Paul Wolfowitz, the man who thought the Cole bombing was, quote, stale, questioned the reporting in a conversation with Bush's Deputy National Security Advisor. On July 12, 2001, acting FBI Director Thomas Pickard opened Attorney General John Ashcroft's intelligence briefing with the latest on the CIA warnings about an al-Qaeda attack. Ashcroft responded by saying, "I don't want you to ever talk to me about al-Qaeda, about these threats. I don't want to hear about al-Qaeda anymore." Pickard appealed for more counterterrorism enhancements, meaning funding, an appeal the Attorney General denied. On September 10th, the United States was attacked the very next day. By lying to the American public serially and aggressively, the CIA, the Bush administration, and the 9/11 Commission created the perfect condition for conspiracy theories to thrive. Consider, for example, the established fact that in the days before the attack, there was a huge surge in put options against airline stocks. Who beside al-Qaeda knew the attacks were coming? And who specifically profited from these trades? It seems possible, probably likely, that foreign governments, including supposed allies, knew the plot was coming. Why didn't they warn the United States? And why did U.S. authorities rush to ship all the debris from the attacks abroad almost immediately, making it impossible for engineers to study the crime scene? Those are just some of the questions we will address in the next installment of our series.
Well, there you have it. Very interesting stuff on 9/11. We're going to continue to put out information that comes on the Charlie Kirk assassination and the 9/11 attacks. Again, we're not accusing anyone. We're just providing information, and you can make your own decisions. We're going to take a quick break, and then I got a treat for you, a feel-good thing. So we'll be right back. bird flu is circulating. We're getting more and more press, more fear mongering, more warnings about this. First, let's start with that. What say you on?
Well, what I say is it specifically is not circulating. It's in animals. There's one human, maybe two transmissions, no human-to-human transmission. And stand by, everybody. If there is some sort of sudden human-to-human transmission, you should immediately be suspicious that gain of function was involved with that. Just the fact that they're taking an animal virus and going nuts on it in the press and talking about it all the time, that to me leads me to believe that they have concerns that somebody is doing something with that virus, because this would not happen naturally, in my opinion.
Our world is changing rapidly. Many crucial systems we depend upon are collapsing. And the most important system that is failing is the food supply.
Mr. President, this Council is more than aware of the multiple challenges and threats the world is facing today. But the threat of famine, people starving slowly to death, must be a red line.
These food prices are going to keep going up and up, and they're going to keep feeding excuse after excuse, narrative after narrative.
Yeah,
so you're going to have to get off that treadmill and start getting more autonomous with your own food growing.
You want to make sure that you can eat, because frankly, food is the biggest issue as we are going through these transitions.
But amidst the chaos, there is a path to resilience. Marjorie Wildcraft is the female leader of the survival and preparedness movement. Marjorie has taught millions of people how to grow an abundance of food in a grid-down situation, even if you have no experience, are older, or out of shape.
I've spent decades finding the fastest, easiest, and funnest ways for the average person to be able to grow a lot of food. I've created a step-by-step process that's so simple that even kids to elders have been using it in order to grow a lot of their own food. And you can too, even if you have no experience, you're older, or you're out of shape.
Growing your own food is like printing your own money. Get started today.
So, welcome back to the SCIF. I want to highlight the Wellness Company. This is the emergency medical kit, the travel emergency medical kit. You can get these at twc.health/CDM, or, and again, that's twc.health/CDM, and promo code CDM, you get 10% off. I've used this bad boy many times traveling around the world, different sicknesses, ailments for my team. Highly recommend. There's also the contagion kit and other, this is for respiratory issues, has the nebulizer and the steroids. There is the supplements, like this is the Ultimate Spike Detox. They have nutraceuticals, pharmaceuticals, memberships for doctor's visits. They have weight loss, parasite cleanse, all kind of fantastic products. So check out the Wellness Company, twc.health/CDM, promo code CDM for 10% off. Spend some time on the website and look around and see what they have. There's a lot of good stuff. I told you I have a feel-good story for you. We were at the Naval Academy over the weekend in DC for a bunch of source meetings and then the football game. And I went to the boxing match between Air Force and Navy. And guess who was there? Mike Johnson was sitting right next to us, and his son was boxing in the match. It was a fantastic fight, 3 rounds. So we're going to play that now. Hope you enjoy. This is round 1.
Let's go, boys! Yeah, they're equally yoked. They're both about the same size. Oi! Oi! Yeah.
So that's round one. That's Mike Johnson in the blue vest sitting at the table in front of the camera. His son is Jack Johnson, and he's fighting for the Naval Academy, and he's in the lighter colored shirt. So here is round two.
Yeah. Let's go, Air Force. Yeah, get him. Get him. Get him. Get him. Let's go, Air Force. Hey! Hey! Oh! He looks better, Woody. Yeah! I'm not really watching.
So that's Mike Johnson's son, Jack Johnson, fighting against the U.S. Air Force Academy opponent. He's at the Naval Academy, and here we go for round three.
We'll get a light suit. He didn't do that, man. He didn't get a 5 years. Cinco. You better fight! You better fight, Air Force! You better fight! 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 Win! Fight! Fight! Win! Fight! 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 Beat it! Let's go, Air Force! Fight him! Go!
So that was round 3. Now let's go for the decision. Who do you think won? Here we go. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed the SCIF today. We try to bring you everything, but a little time. Sometimes we like to throw in some good feelings. So we're happy for Jack Johnson for his win against the U.S. Air Force Academy at the Naval Academy Air Force game over the weekend. That's it for the SCIF. We'll be back tomorrow, 10 to noon, Monday through Friday, Eastern. We'll have a lot of great guests tomorrow. The week is filling up. So see you tomorrow. Thank you.